Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the podcast. I'm here with John. We're about to get going, and apparently, we're going to talk about some controversial shit. So, I'm going to do my best. We'll see what happens.
All right, we'll
What's
start
going on,
light.
John? We'll
We'll
start
start
light.
light.
Okay,
I'm gonna.
controversial light. Go ahead.
hmm
What you got?
Okay,
Hit me with
so I'm just gonna hit you with a truism or an assertion.
an assertion. Got it.
Yeah.
Okay. Copy
Okay.
that. Copy
And
that.
then I'd like you to just comment on that assertion and just you know just improvise.
Okay. Now, before we get going, what
Mm.
is our purpose? Like, what are we trying to do here?
Well,
Do we have some context that we're like a sort of framework that we can lay down?
we could just have fun,
Okay.
or you could bring whatever you could try to approach these things from uh, an ontological perspective.
That'll likely happen as normal.
Yeah.
Okay, so just note the for the viewers, maybe a little fun having here. I know I rarely let myself have. No, I'm just kidding. I have plenty of fun. I just don't share that with you. Is that true? I don't know. Anyway, and so there's a line here. So I'm just letting you know if I say fuck it. Let's just go. We'll see what happens. Don't take any of this too seriously. All right? Okay.
There we go.
What you got?
Wealth inequality is the root cause or a root cause of social problems.
I don't yeah. So that's an assertion. Okay. And
Yeah.
I've heard this before, and wealth inequality, and I think my initial reaction is my bullshit-o-meter is just like what the fuck? Something's wrong here. Something's wrong. I don't know what it is. Now, have I done a bunch of research? Do I know the statistics? No. Is there wealth inequality? Yes. And there's also wealth inequality. I've seen, like in India, for example, there's a huge gap between wealthy and not. And it looked to me, at least when I went to India, that the country suffered for it because you've got it just like things were not working well. Now, I think social problems, the root of social problems is people's view of the world and what social is to them. That's the real root. And then there's all this, and I hear the arguments, I guess. I don't know where I'm going to go with this, but because picture somebody, right? You grow up in a shitty household, you're going to think shitty, you're going to view the world shitty. I'm paraphrasing here, I'm not using very articulate speech, but your worldview is going to be a byproduct of whatever environment, plus the learning, plus the other people that are in that environment are going to grow you up. And your experience will be such that, like, if you're in a shitty environment with shitty people who think shitty thoughts, have a shitty view on the world and shitty values, you're going to adopt shitty shit. And so your chances of doing something good in life later, much smaller. And being socially well adjusted, probably not. That's my guess. So if you want to talk about the root cause of that, the cause is the person's perspective. Now, there do seem to be, and again, I'm opinionating here. This is just based on my understanding of how things seem to go. Um, people, there is an environmental factor. You know, if I grew up in a ghetto or a whatever the fuck you call it, where there's a bunch of people that are low income, that the high status people in that are doing violent things. So I think that in order to have status in this community, violence is the thing. Guess who's going to be doing violent shit to try to fit in? See? Because when we grow up, we don't have as far as I can tell, as children, we don't have the wherewithal to distinguish between what's what. And so the environment makes a difference. So, but I do think it's wrong to say that wealth inequality. What was the assertion?
Wealth inequality is a root cause of social problems. A root cause.
Yeah, you could say a root cause, perhaps. Sure, like it is a factor. And then I would push further to be like, how come there's wealth inequality in the first place? I think it's an education problem.
Hmm.
Ultimately, it comes down to the education of people. And then when you have an entire generation, say, of people that are educated a certain way, guess what you got? A society of people that are educated a certain way. Or if they have a lack of education, if you put 1,000 people in a room that are not educated about money, that are not educated about values that empower them, that are not educated, what are you going to be left with? Like, what are they going to build? Whereas if you put 1,000 people in a room who are educated, who do understand powerful values, who have learned about how to control their mind, who have learned about money, who have learned skills and have a willingness to use them, what's going to be the outcome? That will be a society that builds different shit. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at with that.
So if everybody had an equal education, would wealth inequality disappear?
Well, equal education.
As
I've
you
got
just
one
described it.
point.
As you just described it.
I've got one point to say before I do this. So backing up, um, there's an idea I've heard that people who understand money and how money works and how the system of money works, you can take all their money away, but then they're just gonna build something that brings the money back to them. People who are, you've heard of people who win the lottery,
Mm-hmm.
all their problems should be solved and they're broke in like a couple years. Why?
Mm-hmm.
See, it's like that's the way that they view money. Their relationship to money is ineffective,
Mm-hmm.
disempowered.
Mm.
See, so if you had now, I don't know. So now going to your question, I don't know about equal education because education is not going to be equal. Like each person will learn differently. Some people are stupider than others. Some people are smarter than others. Some people like science. Some people like money and business. Some people people like different things. So it's not going to be equal. Never. Um, but perhaps equal access and or accessible education would make a difference, but even that doesn't do the job because in a certain way, and like I said, I was speaking to somebody about this, and we were going like, oh yeah, you can lead a horse to water but you can't make the horse drink. If people are not educated to take responsibility for their own education, because guess what, people, fucking YouTube exists.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I heard a story about a kid in Africa who learned how to fix MRI machines on fucking YouTube. All right.
Holy crap.
And then got a job fixing MRIs. All right. So there's access. People may not have their values of I'm the one who's going to learn. I'm the one that has to learn. I can learn and then go do it. And I know that doesn't sound good because people are like, well, you didn't grow up in this. You're a white male. You're privileged and blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, fuck you. You can go learn shit. You're a human being. That, I think, is more valuable than because people have
Mm.
access. They may be in a shitty environment. I'm not saying that. And I'm not trying to disparage anybody that's in a rough environment in terms of learning. And for some people, it's going to be very, very, very hard. I'm so lucky to have what I have. Okay. I'm not saying that I'm not trying to disparage anybody that's having a tough time. I'm just saying you may have to work harder to get the education, but it's fucking there.
Yeah.
And so it's do you want to be educated or not? I think that's the main issue. Is so what? Why am I talking about?
I just asked you if you thought education essentially would,
Would
get
fix
rid
the
of wealth
problem?
inequality, and you answered my question in a more nuanced way than the assertion was made. So,
Yeah. So I don't know if it would fix wealth inequality because some people aren't interested in being wealthy.
mm,
And then there's also it's also I cannot give a simple answer to a complex problem because it's a massively complex problem in terms of there's governments set up, there are systems of government, so there are systems that are working that don't function to help, maybe I hear tell, certain people like of a certain race. And if that's the case, my argument still stands in my mind: fix the fucking system. Yeah, and okay, so there is that. I want to acknowledge if there's a broken system, fix it. And then there's other stuff like, for example, I think of, stuff like if there's a law in place that limits growth in a certain area, then there will be limited growth due to the law. Again, a system that we as people, at least in America, we vote to have politicians, and the politicians make the rules. That's the system that we created. Now, does that work? I think it works better than most countries. I think we have a certain politicalness about our country that is workable, but then there's all these other factors like you could have a tobacco lobbyist talking to somebody in government, and because the tobacco company gives the money to the lobbyist to give to the politician makes certain decisions not based on what their constituents want, but based on his own or her own greed. And if
hmm
that's the case, to me, that's a broken system. And then the rules will be set up like that. And that's just one small facet to a really, really, really complex problem. So, yeah,
okay,
I don't know that just education would do that, would fix that problem.
all right,
Wouldn't hurt.
okay, okay.
Oh boy.
Next assertion. You ready?
Oh boy.
Second Amendment rights must be protected.
Oh Jesus Christ. Okay. Oh, you would. Oh, fucking a. There's a lot of controversy about this. Yeah. Jesus. I don't. Okay. I don't know if I'm gonna edit this out or not. I'm just gonna go. We'll see what happens. I may take this one out just because of its
Yeah,
nature or whatever. But
yeah.
say it again. Say it again.
Second Amendment rights must be protected.
Okay. Let's start with what the Second Amendment says. What does it say?
Mm,
Let's start there. Let's read it out
okay.
before I do something stupid. All right. I'm looking it up. Are you looking it up?
Yeah.
Okay. A well regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state. The right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Okay. Well regulated militia.
Mm-hmm.
Well regulated. So there is a well regulated in there. So I know it seems to me that the gun people, they want to keep the fucking guns. The non-gun people want to get rid of the guns because a lot of people in America are getting shot. Now, I do not know the statistics exactly on who's shooting whom and with what. Now, I did because people go, they want to ban AR 15s. That's a thing. It's
Hmm.
2023. And when I looked, and please somebody find the stats, put them in the comments. Like, let's get some real fucking. How about this? Let's get a militia of our own together to get the real answers on this because I don't know the exact statistics. I did a little research and I found out that most of the gun deaths are not from AR 15s, they are from handguns. Is that
Yeah,
true?
that's what I've heard too. Let's look it up right now.
Okay.
Yeah. Let's see. Which guns are responsible for the greatest number of
In the
deaths?
US, because a lot of other countries don't.
Yeah.
And then we're not even talking Africa. I bet there's some crazy shit going on in Africa, other countries, Middle East, and others don't know. What do you got?
Okay, so according to Bing's AI, according to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention in 2021, there were 48,830 gun-related deaths in the United States. This figure includes gun murders, gun suicides, accidental deaths, deaths involving law enforcement, and deaths with undetermined circumstances. And I'd be curious about how those numbers compare to things like heart disease.
Okay.
Of these gun related deaths, 54% were suicides, while 43% were murders. So most of
54
54% were
suicide.
suicides, 43% were murders. The remaining gun deaths that year were accidental, 549, involved law enforcement, 537, or had undetermined circumstances. So the vast
What guns?
majority.
Yeah. Sorry, go
Yeah,
ahead.
handguns are the most common murder weapon used in the United States, accounting for 6,012 homicides in 2021. However,
Okay.
it is important to note that the number of gun deaths can vary from year to year and can be influenced by various factors.
So 6,000 were handguns out of 40,000?
Yeah, this doesn't make sense. So if there were 20,000 murders, 21,000 murders
Okay.
essentially, in 2021, and it says handguns accounted for 6,000 of the homicides. That is not the most common. So now I'm not trusting Bing, and I want to go to the Center for Disease Control and Prevention, to the CDC.
Right. Like where this is another thing I don't know. Are they accurate? I want accuracy. I want to know the numbers.
All right, so
Yeah.
let me see. According to Pew Research Center, oh, that's where it got it. Yeah, 48,000 died from gun-related injuries in the U.S.
Okay.
in 2021, almost 49,000 according to the CDC. Yeah, 43% murder, 54% suicide. Gosh, there's a lot here. I wish
Yeah.
I'd pieced together this data earlier.
Yeah. So and yeah. I mean, we can look more. I just
Ah,
want to. Yeah. Go ahead.
oh, I just saw it. U.S. gun death rates varied widely by state. You'd think Texas would have the highest. It does not. It's in the middle.
All right.
Um, Much higher are places like Wyoming and Montana, Louisiana.
I imagine there's probably a relationship between people's education and the amount of death happening via guns. And
Hmm.
also there maybe a wealth disparity. When people are more in need, they do more drastic stuff.
Ah,
Some
okay. Which types of firearms are most commonly used in gun murders in the US? In
Yeah.
2020, the most recent year for which the FBI has published data, handguns were involved in 59% of the 13,620 US gun murders and non negligent manslaughters for which data is available.
How?
Rifles, the
Yeah.
category that includes guns sometimes referred to as assault weapons, were involved in 3% of firearm murders.
And this
Shotguns
is
were involved in 1%.
so
This
run me
is
those numbers again.
so 59% were handguns
Yeah.
in 2020, 3% were rifles, of which
Yeah.
a small number of those are ARs,
Right.
and 1% were shotguns. The
What's the rest?
remainder
Yeah.
the remainder of gun homicides and non-negligent manslaughters involved other kinds of firearms or those classified as type not stated.
What the fuck does that even mean?
I don't know.
Type
Yeah,
not stated.
can air rifles or something like pop pop pop.
So let's tally up the percentages again. 59 handguns,
59% were handguns and 3% were
3%.
rifles and
That's wait,
1%,
hang on. That's 62%.
yeah,
And what's the
1% were shotguns.
63%? So we're missing 30.
And 36% were classified as type not stated.
Okay.
But
So
even if all of those were ARs, it would still be less than handguns.
right. So if that's the case, I mean even okay. And then there's arguments for mass shooters. An AR will definitely allow somebody to do mass murder much better than a handgun. Like that's just makes sense to me. So there's these arguments going around, and I don't know.
I don't know if that's true. I think if you have a powerful handgun with a decent sized magazine,
Much
you
harder to
can
aim.
you
Much
can
harder to aim.
yeah, but if you're in a small room, you can kill a lot of people with that thing pretty fast, and it's harder to take it out of your hands.
Yeah. So anyway, yeah. So let's see. Back to your assertion here. So this is one of my gripes with the assertions. I want accuracy in the statistics, and I want all of the statistics to be known. I think investigating what's really going on with guns, because the stats that they show, yes, we have way more murders from guns in this country than other countries. Now, and I do see that as a problem.
Mm.
I see that's fucked up. I don't think that should be the case. I don't think we should be killing each other with guns. It just, what the fuck? Now, on the flip side, I'm okay with guns. I'm okay with people owning guns. What I'm not okay with is all these people killing each other with guns for no apparent reason. And I do think that there is so and then I do hear the argument, and I think this makes sense to me, and I'm open to discussion on this. Well, semi-open is I believe the forefathers studied history, and they saw, I hear tell, that in every culture, every empire has risen and fallen, and the ones, it seems they I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, they recognize a pattern that the ruling class became a ruling class, and they would outlaw weapons of the servant class or whatever, the people who were supporting them. And they say, okay, you guys don't get weapons. So then the ruling class has all the firepower, and then the normal people don't. And that was a way of controlling them. Now, in this day and age, so I think that's where they were going with that. They're like, if your government gets out of hand, you need to be able to take them out, because governments get out of hand. I think that was the original intent. Now,
Mm.
fast forward to today, and you know, what do they got? They don't have complex firearms back then. There's no way they could have predicted what weaponry we have now. Now we have, I hear tell people who are into guns, they're like, well, we should be able to keep our guns, and or our militia is going to, be able to take out the government. It's like, well, you aren't counting on the military. The military that we have is highly trained, extremely effective. And if you have a 30-person militia, they will fuck you up. So the government has the power to take control militarily. Like I don't think we have enough guns and people and organization in the US to like even make that a problem. Yeah, maybe a bit of a problem, but not really. So, but then there is the off chance that the government could go screwy. Like way, way, way down the line. Like it could fall. But if it did fall and the military was behind it, then I don't think the Second Amendment really fucking matters. Now, maybe some other consideration.
So if the Second Amendment exists to protect citizens from the government, then it's insufficient anyway.
It seems that way to me. Because I don't think, like, yeah, we have a fuck ton of guns in the U.S., but I don't think we have the organization in a militia level to handle if the military were all to be like all of a sudden, you know what? Nope, no more guns. There'd be a few pockets of resistance, but they've got drones and bombs and planes and shit. Like, how long do you think that's really going to last? See, like realistically, think realistically. So I think you see, I don't know. What
I think some people would argue that.
Yeah.
I think some people would argue that the reason that the Second Amendment exists is because much of the Revolutionary War was fought by militia. And it was necessary to allow citizens
to boot out
to own guns, to form militias, to fight the redcoats.
Sure. Yeah. If that was like the original intent, that makes sense. And one of the things that, say, I talked to somebody else here, and he's telling me one of the things that people who are into Second Amendment miss is there's a fucking well-regulated in there. I think that the gun deaths in this country is a fucking problem. Where's the regulation? Like, if you cleaned up, I can think of a few solutions. So again, like, I don't know if this is exactly answering your question, but maybe a few solutions for that problem that I really abhor the problem. Because if we're not going to ban the Second Amendment, people are going to have guns. So fix the fucking system. And here are some of my ideas for solutions. Shit, I can't remember.
Check in next time. Tune in next time.
So here's just some ideas, right? Like, if you mandatory psych eval for guns, mandatory. You got to get a psych eval. You got to get that checked like every couple of years. That would clean up probably some of the wackos. Just, nope, sorry, you don't get guns. Why? Because you're fucked up in the head. You don't get to own a firearm. Mandatory firearms training. I have a license to drive a car. Do you have a license to buy a gun? No. You don't need one. You can just go buy one. You don't even need to know about guns, how they work, anything. You can just go buy a gun. That, I think, that's stupid.
You can buy a car too.
Yeah, you can buy a car.
You don't have to. You can't drive it, but you can buy it.
You cannot legally drive a car. So you see some mandatory training, because there's, I think, the people that own firearms and they're responsible and they're trained and they know how to use it and they know about safety and they know about the rules. Shit doesn't happen. Okay, that would clean up a lot. Also, for young guys in this country, maybe you don't get to own a gun until you're 25, because young men are fucked in the head. Okay? I don't see many young women, if at all, doing mass murder with guns. You see many of that? I don't. It's young men, and probably just men in general. Okay? We're fucked. We have those emotional, like, I'm about to kill them, and, oh, I've got a gun. I'll just go do that. Women, not so much. So push that age further. You wanted to another thing that may help. You can't if you're going to own a gun and you're not sure about the person's capacity to own a gun, they've got to get approval from, I don't know, 2 different family members and 3 friends. And those family members and friends have to sign
Ah,
off on them getting a gun.
I've
And if
never
they
heard
don't
that
sign off,
idea. That's cool.
yeah, I think that was somewhere else. Like I heard that somewhere. It's like, that would just, if your kid's a psychopath or whatever, you're like, no, I don't want him having a gun. He's nuts. Or some people that know them, like a character assessment. See,
Hmm.
like, is that such a big deal?
Character references.
Yeah, character references, because like that, I think the mass killings are people that are nut jobs. They're going around doing stuff.
What would you say about the argument on the other side that the Second Amendment is intended to protect people? It's that human beings have a right to protect themselves, even using deadly force. Because I've definitely met people who don't think that human beings have the right to protect themselves with deadly force. Like I've met people who said, even if you are being attacked by someone who wants to kill you, that does not give you the right to kill them, even in self-defense.
Oh no, I'm all for it.
That's
You want to try to kill me? Good. Your life is over. Bye. No problems there.
okay.
But then it gets challenging because, like, well, were they really trying to do deadly force and da 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 da? Like, there can be some lack of clarity. But no, if I have a property and I've got a family in there and somebody's breaking in with malintent, you should be able to wipe them the fuck out. Sorry, you don't get to exist anymore. You cross a line. Bye.
As soon as they step across the property line, or as soon as they start breaking in the door?
See, again, this is where things could get confusing. Like, do they have malintent? Have I assessed the threat? Are they threatening? Don't know yet. Oh, yep, they are. Bye. Oh, somebody, I don't know, is coming across my yard with a gun. They're pointing it at me. They're ready to pull. Okay, sure. So that's where I think things can get challenging. But it's like, no, if certain behavior just should not be allowed. And one example, like maybe an example that speaks to this, I don't know. I remember seeing something about Texas where there were going to be some street protests and people's businesses are getting destroyed in these protests. And so a bunch of people from Texas got together who owned a certain business. They boarded their shit up. They had a bunch of AR-15s. They stood in front and said, hey, you can protest all you want, but if you try to come in here, we're going to fuck you up. And nobody went in their business.
Yeah.
Like, okay, I'm all right with that. See? But, like if somebody, what do you, if somebody's going to come harm your child and you're not allowed to wipe them the fuck out? No. What am I going to do? Stand by and let it happen? My family? Me? No.
Mm-hmm.
Just
All
saying.
right.
These are opinions, by the way.
Next assertion:
Okay.
universal health care is a basic human right.
I think it's a nice one to have. Like I've been to some European countries and when you're broken over there, you just go, you get fixed and it's done. That's cool. I think the insurance system here is broken, so fix it. Like I pay out the nose for insurance. See, and then I think there's a balance between universal healthcare, all for it. Really, really, really high taxes, not for that. But yet we have to balance. I think balance is a principle that can be used here where it's like if there's going to be universal health care, I want the system to work effectively. I want it to be effective and I want it to cost the least amount of money it can and still be effective. And then so there's like a balance. Like I've heard, some countries, it's like they've got a lot of good programs. You can just get your shit fixed. But when you make
There are
your
waiting
money,
lists.
yeah, there's waiting lists. Maybe it's longer, Over here, you could get seen right away. Although I talked to, somebody, they know somebody in Holland when he went to get his knee fixed. It's like he got it fixed. He was on it. They were on rehab. It was much better care than here and universally.
Mm.
So anybody who's got a problem with universal health care, I would want you to go to a country that has it, get fixed before you start talking about, well, it's draining this, that, and the other thing. It's like, no, it's actually really fucking cool.
But is it a right? Is it a basic
Um,
human right? Like both of these questions, the Second
oh, I
Amendment
see. I
is
can.
it's a right. Is it a right? And healthcare, is it a right as you see it, like freedom of speech and religion?
Well, you see, all of those I could call into question as rights. Like, we don't have rights. These are very powerful agreements. We agreed to these things that, yes, we should have these. There are some countries that it's not a right.
The founding fathers asserted that these things are not agreements, that these things exist a priori. They are conditions of what it is to be human. They are part of human nature.
Oh, they're not part of human nature. I don't, depends on what they mean. When they say human nature, I don't know what they mean, but I suspect what they're pointing at is like to have a healthy society,
Nope.
human nature.
I would assert that they're talking about human beings. Yeah, we hold these truths to be self-evident,
Right.
that all men are created equal,
Yeah.
that they are endowed by their creator with certain unalienable rights, that they are endowed by their creator with
Okay.
certain unalienable rights.
Right.
That is
Questions
not
right away.
we're not doing this out of convention or or anything like that. They're asserting that it's comes from the source of existence.
Yeah, no. It's all made up. All that's made up. Now, maybe they made it up in such a way that it's like, oh, the creator is saying we deserve this, which gives it weight. Just from an ontological standpoint, I can kill people.
Hmm.
People can kill me. It's just physics.
Yeah.
So, do I have a right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness? Yeah, if we say so. And if we say that the creator has endowed us with that, then we say so. You see how that happens? God is an invention. And then there's real God, which is not an invention.
Do you think that to destroy a human being,
I didn't say
uh,
these are right things to do. Like, I'm
yeah,
against
yeah,
killing
yeah. No,
people.
we're talking
Yeah.
existentially, and
But
I'm
like, from an existential perspective, we do not have rights. We agreed. Because
okay.
think caveman times. Like, what do? You go bash another human? No, laws are agreements. They're made up. They're social agreements. Rights, as we see them, are made up. Why? Because they probably wanted to create a better country than the bullshit they came from.
But why do you think that it's really bad to kill people?
Now that
Because I don't think you do it because it's good
I
for society.
I think it is social. Because if we take away, if I get honest and take away to the best of my ability, and I know this doesn't sound good already, right? And here's why I'm saying what I'm saying. If I do my best to take away person social, so everything that's social agreements, that it's wrong to steal, that's social. That, like, if I go to just animal, no social, just animal. If I see something I don't like, I kill it. I don't have a thought about that. I just kill that. You ever have that? Say somebody does something to you that's really fucking wrong, and you don't do something about it. The reason that I'm not doing something about it is because of a social convention. I have the urge. I'm going to kill that motherfucker. But why don't I? Well, it's bad. It's wrong. It's da da da. I think all that's a social thing. If I was a caveman, huh? Bye. Huh? Kill it.
Mm.
I'm better. I don't think it would be a problem. Like animals, you ever see a hippo kill its young, kill the babies of another hippo, they're not worried about how they look. They're not worried about laws. They're not worried about right and wrong like that. They just kill it.
So I'd really push back on this
It's hard
because,
to get out of the social that we're in.
yeah, it's called not being human anymore.
Right.
It's like
Listen, you're
you
not
can
a
say that, yeah, hippos kill their babies, cool. But we're not hippos.
right.
And we, I think hippos can live, they can
But
survive.
we are very social.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So we're a kind of being that must be social for its survival. Whereas
Right. So what I'm
hippos,
saying is
they don't need that so much. So if you
right.
take away if you take away that capacity, and if you take away that activity, do you not destroy in some very real sense the human being? In the
Not the
same way that
being.
you would if
I
you
I
cut
think
off like part of their arms or legs or
I
something,
think
you
we're
know?
in agreement. I think we're in agreement because the thing I've described is an animal,
Hmm.
not a person. The way we hold person. The person is gone. There's no more like person. It's just a wild animal now. There's not a human being like humanity. We've left that.
Yeah, and I would say if you take that out, there's no use in talking about humans. It's just like matter.
Well, it's animals. I would say I make a distinction like animal.
Not even because if you take away the drives, the motivations, and that which makes a hippo, I'm talking about the software, not the hardware. It would also cease to function.
Oh,
And
I'm not
and if
talking
you
about taking away that. It's like we still have a drive to survive. It's
Yeah,
just everything
but
that's piled on.
we suck at it. We suck at it. Like we suck at it if you take away the the software.
I don't know.
Like the software is more indispensable for us than it is for just about everything else.
Well, what are you calling the software? Like the social stuff? Because we
Mhm.
function well in groups.
No, and it's not only that we function well in groups, it's that we function like shit outside of groups.
Sure, like as a full solo, very rare.
Yeah, we die
And yeah,
quickly
doesn't work.
and don't reproduce.
Okay.
We need the social. I'm not saying all the social, but or that it's not extremely variable, or that it's not in a very real sense made up. But without it, I feel like if you remove all of that from a human, it's in far sorrier condition than
Yeah.
if you remove
So
the social from just about any other animal, or the conceptual from any other animal.
yeah, I didn't say remove conceptual. We need that. That's we
Yeah. And
can't
when
do
you
life without that.
and when you talk about human beings, like if you take away social, human beings do kill other human beings. We do
Yeah.
it a lot.
Yeah.
Um, but
We could still say here's a here's a argument thought about
yeah.
that. We can take language away, right? Language is learned.
Hmm.
No laws without language, no agreements without language, and language is learned and made up. No rights.
I don't think you have a human being when you take it away.
Sure you do. See a baby come out, they don't come out with language.
And I wouldn't call them really human. Like, what distinguishes a baby from a dog is its ability to go into a
So then
world of communication through
so
language.
then if you're saying a human then if the definition of a human includes language,
Hmm.
then what's the how does that fit in? Because if we redefine what a human is,
Yeah, well, when I don't think of human, I think of human being. And so for me, a human being is holistic. It's not just the physical and the capacity to conceive, to have concepts. It's specifically a social being and a conceptual being and a linguistic being. And if you
Okay.
remove those factors, you don't have a human being.
What do you have?
You have a being, but not a human one.
Okay, so it's the human part that includes all this other stuff, and that's what you're calling a human being.
Yeah, that would be my definition, because if you
Okay.
take those away, you don't have a functional entity.
Okay, and then so bring it back to the original point.
The original point is that rights are a recognition of the functional entities, requirements for being that functional entity.
Well, for a functioning society, it seems like those rights help.
Okay. All right. So you wouldn't defend rights, any rights as such, but for the sake of a society that functions, you think they're good ideas.
Yeah. Yeah, they
Okay.
work. Those are workable. But I still stand on we don't have rights. We invented rights.
Yeah.
But in order for shit to work well, yeah, let's not kill each other. Let's work together. Um, let's have people have life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Good. You can do stuff that makes you happy. Yes, you can. Like, that is great for society. Excellent. Wonderful. Endowed by the creator? No. Well, yes and no. It depends on what you're calling a creator and what that actually is. Does God actually do something? We don't know if God does shit. If we don't know what God is, but that's another story. Come to a contemplation intensive.
Hmm.
So that's where I stand on that. I don't know. Yeah.
Okay.
Not
Next.
poo pooing the fucking rights. I think they're good. Let's do more of that. Let's unite United States. Yeah. Let's work together. Huh? Fucking, wouldn't that be a great idea? Anyway,
Okay.
thanks. Yeah. Cool.
Uh, Smaller government leads to freedom, greater individual freedom.
Don't know. I know some people that are libertarian. I think that's like the libertarian view. Like, let's get rid of government. Now, it seems to me that, say, like our tax code is extremely complex. And I don't know where the fuck I was going with that. If shit's complex, it's complex and it's hard to work with. If a system, if you get a group of people together and say make a decision, it's going to take them a long fucking time. Where if you have two people in a room, you say make a decision, they can work it out pretty quick. One person probably even faster. You know, places that have a lot of bureaucratic red tape, shit takes a long time, like the UK seems to be the case. Um, if you have more and more and more and more government programs, like I think France does, then the people are limited in their ability to do shit. Seems to be the case. So, does having less government make a difference? Sure. And then maybe at some point, because there's so little government, then people run AWOL and do random shit that's bad for other people. So it's like, do we need government? I think so. You ever seen a group of people with no leader? They don't know what the fuck to do. We need leadership. It's just a human thing that makes stuff work well. Do we need massively complex systems? I think we could do with simplifying and making some shit a lot more efficient. You know, like taxes, for example, in the United States. Let's dial that. Let's get that handled differently. Um, I've heard in Iceland, when you go to do your taxes, it's ridiculously easy. It's actually pleasurable. But then again, it's a
Oh,
small
good.
country
Taxes.
with not a lot of people, and they can handle that. But I think when things get really big, it's hard to, how do you manage 200 million people? You know, that can be very challenging. So those are my thoughts on that. I don't know.
Okay.
Massively complex though.
Yeah. Let's see. Systemic racism persists in many societies.
Yeah, maybe. There do seem to be systems that are racist. In many societies, I can think of India, they have the caste system. That would be
Mm.
systemic racism, right? Like you're born of a certain, not necessarily race, but of a certain social status. You're an untouchable. You're fucked. Like that's your lot in life. Is that systemic racism? I don't know about race, but it's maybe systemic social statusism or something. Does that exist? Yeah, and I'm sure it still exists today. Um, there's yeah, but systemic means it's in the system of government, right? Is that what systemic means?
Well, I think people would argue today that as it applies to the U.S., that it is systemic in the sense that it's in all of our cultural assumptions, it's in all of our beliefs and training, it's in all of our activities, it's in our education. It's like it's inherent and biased and largely unconscious.
I can see some arguments for that, but then I also push back against that because ultimately, what is racism? It's a viewpoint about another human being. I can change my viewpoint. Like people in Vermont don't like people from Massachusetts. It's not that they're a different race, but they're fucking massholes. You know what I'm saying? Like they drive shitty. They don't use their blinker. Like they come up and bother us in the fall. People in Poland don't like their next door neighbors or whatever. It's like we do this as human beings. Is it all pervasive? I fight against the it's all pervasive in all people and it's like and I don't have a choice. Maybe I fight against the idea that I'm somehow a victim of a system. It's like no, I'm partaking in the system. You don't want to be racist? Don't fucking do that. Stop that. And don't try to tell me I'm racist because what are you saying I cannot make a decision on my own to not do that? Are you disempowering me or something like that? So that's where my pushback and anger comes from. It's like,
Yeah, you're a part of a system that's controlling you, that you're benefiting from because you're white, for example, but
because
you
I'm
don't
white.
know that you're benefiting from it, and you don't know that you're actively participating in suppressing other people because they're not white.
Yeah, it's like, I can. It's a challenge because sure, when I get pulled over in the United States, I'm not so worried about that.
Mm.
Black guys, I hear tell, are because they get fucking shot. See, so is the system broken in that case? Yeah. Is it a cultural thing? Yeah. Am I perpetuating it? It's like, I don't think so. I'm just here. Yeah, I'm white. I'm privileged. Yes, yes. Does that make me a bad person? No, it's just the fucking circumstance I grew up in. If I grew up in a different circumstance, it'd be a different one. But is it in certain systems? I think so. And again, if we do have systems like that, fucking fix them already.
Mm.
But perpetuating it, it's like I fight against this. Like you're making me wrong for just being. And then there's the argument. Well, because you're having a negative reaction means you're part of the system, right?
Yeah, that's I think that's the like the white fragility or white this
Yeah,
or that denial is proof or evidence of the disease or
yeah. I
something like
disagree
that.
with that, and fuck you.
Yeah.
So I don't know, but if there are broken systems like that, fucking fix them already. I am not going to do that. I vote. I am doing my best to help people via the content I make. It's a politician thing. Do your job.
All right. Next truism. Traditional family values should be upheld.
Um, you can do whatever you want with your family values. Should? No. Yes. Doesn't matter. the viewpoint that I take on stuff like that is what is it functional for? Does it work? Is it powerful? Is it enlivening? Does it work for the people that are engaging in it or not? Does it work for the people around them? Does it work for society or not? Does it make a powerful society or not? In
Hmm.
terms of should, ultimately it doesn't matter, because clearly there's many different cultures in all parts of the world that have many different family values. And
So do traditional family values make for a more functional society and more functional groups?
it
Functional
depends
groups?
on what we're calling traditional family values.
Hmm.
But I think probably it's going to be the, like, well, there's a male role and a female role, and
One man, one woman, stay
right, and all
faithful.
that stuff. I think, yeah, again, it can be complex because some people really don't fit in there. And then how do
Hmm.
you account for everybody? But traditionally speaking, in terms of large groups, it does seem to be, at least for a male brain, there seems to be a benefit to having a solid female partner and a family. And then that makes that sense. It seems to ground the man in something like, okay, this is our unit. I can function better. But I don't think of it in terms of a should and shouldn't. I think of it in terms of, well, what's powerful and what's not? What's
Hmm.
effective? What's not? Does it work or doesn't it? And what is our goal? Like, what is the purpose? If the purpose is a functional society, maybe there's some stuff there that works. But to say should, I don't go there.
Okay. But you can base it on the functionality of what's good for society
Yeah, and
or for
that's my
what's good
view.
for a community or some such.
Sure. And then again, we'd have to even explore further. It's like, what do I mean when I say good? Like, what do I really mean? How am I creating good? Like, good could be everybody kills each other. That's good. See, no, I mean
Not
good
likely.
as in a group of people that are working together, united states. Huh? Come on, people. We're united. We're working together. Everybody can be free, happy, do their own thing. They get their needs met, and then they can go through life relatively safely and and collectively do that. Minimal chaos, minimal death and destruction against each other, or none would be good. See, it's like, that seems good, right? People who are able to learn and grow in a safe environment and be taken care of and take care of each other. This seems good. Now, does it work for that? Probably. Some stuff.
Hmm.
Is there stuff like I hear tell, and maybe here's some I don't know if this relates, but maybe some like hypocritical stuff, or some stuff that, like, for example, a woman might say, money doesn't matter. I'm a woman who makes a lot of money. My guy doesn't need to make money. But then she gets in a relationship with a guy that doesn't make as much money as her, and she's not attracted to him for some reason.
Hmm.
And so what is being said? Oh, it doesn't matter. But then at the end of the day, if money and status matters in the eyes of the woman who's there, and again, I'm narrow focusing on a like a very particular thing, then I think it would be useful to acknowledge that what was said doesn't match what fucking is. Yeah, it doesn't matter. No, it does matter to you if it does. Own that.
So
Don't.
actions speak louder than words.
No, the truth speaks louder than, well, depends on what you mean with truth, but what's true? Like, what actually happened? I'm a woman. I made a lot of money. I say it doesn't matter if my man doesn't make money and is lower status. Then I date a man who doesn't make as much money and is lower status, and I'm not attracted. It does fucking matter then. Don't
Hmm.
try to say it doesn't matter when it does, or recognize that there's a disparity. And for women, I think by and large, it does. Status makes a difference. Confidence makes a difference. Oh, I want a sensitive man. I don't want the man to be powerful or whatever. But when you date a sensitive man who's not powerful, who doesn't stand up for himself, and you're not attracted to him, maybe it does matter. And vice versa, but so where am I
So,
going with this? Like,
well, I don't know. I mean, linking it to traditional family values, it seems to me that you're drawing a connection between people's behavior and what is thought of as traditional family values, or at least gender behaviors. Like, and that it's not necessarily something that is just a should or something like that. I don't know.
yeah, I mean, it's like you don't have to should have certain family values. I just want people to be more honest about what really matters to them,
Mm,
and what really does happen. If say I'm like, no, I'm against traditional family values and gender roles, but I date if I again, the female example comes up for me. If I'm a woman and I say the traditional gender roles don't make a difference, but then when I date a man who doesn't fit the traditional gender role, I'm not attracted to him, I don't like it, then I do like those family traditional roles. If it's like the man works and brings home the money and does all the stuff and is takes control, and like
yeah,
that gets me going as a woman,
right.
then you do like that traditional aspect. Then just tell the truth about that. But if it actually doesn't matter, then okay, it actually doesn't matter, and that's fine too. Do you know what I'm saying? I guess I'm trying to point at the possibility of just people not recognizing what works for them and not being able to be honest about what works based on an idea that traditional family values are bad and I don't want that, when in fact you do. It's
Mm,
that is what I'm trying to point at, is like, just tell the truth about what is working for you. Scratch traditional, not traditional. Like, does that work? Okay, then you do fit into the category of somebody who likes traditional family values. Like, maybe you ought to be dating a conservative.
yeah, and I think it happens on
But
for
anyway,
men
take
as well.
yeah, huh?
I think it happens for men as well. Like, you've been using examples of women, but
Right.
I
Before you go, sorry, and then I do actually have to get going here pretty soon. I want to be clear that I'm not trying to make an argument one way or another. I'm just saying that I'm, I'm not trying to say you should have traditional family values or not. Just what works for you, what doesn't, and be honest about that. And I'm not trying to label or put people in a box of, well, you do because you like this means you like traditional family values. No, it just means you like that. Okay, that's the perspective I try to hold. But go ahead.
mm.
What were you going to say?
Oh, just kind of an example supporting, I think, what you were saying, that for example, a man might say that he is very progressive, and he wants his woman could sleep with whoever she wants, and he's not going
Sure.
to try to
There you
control
go.
her.
Thank you.
And
Thank
he's
you.
he's touting off, and he's saying that that's what he believes, and it's just killing him inside.
Yeah.
He despises it,
Yeah.
but he's
Yeah.
trying to be
The
something
progressive,
he's
like, I'm
not.
so
Yeah,
open, I'm da da da. No, you're not fucking open until you are. Thank you
yeah.
for bringing up. I was trying to think of a male example. Yeah, that's a perfect one. Like, no,
Hmm.
she can sleep around. We're polyamorous. It's no problem. No, maybe it is a problem. Tell the truth about that. See,
Hmm.
and then it's like, no, you're more traditional than you think
Yeah,
in terms
yeah.
of what we label as traditional. Now, traditional, to take it a step further, again, made up. This is American traditional, right?
I would question that, my friend. I would say that whole
Well,
monogamy thing is way, way,
way
way more
older.
traditional than just America, and far more widespread.
Right, 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 right,
And
right.
so
And
is
older and
women seeking, generally speaking, men of equal or higher status. That's far, far more widespread and older than the USA.
there you go. Okay, cool. Yeah, so we could see evidence of, it seems like more biological, like more hardwired
Hmm.
stuff that is cross-cultural. There you
Hmm.
go. Seems like that's the case.
Okie dokie. Is that enough? Is
Interesting.
that enough
That's
controversial shit to hang yourself with? It's like, like why?
let's fucking, you wanna hang me?
I don't know. I just thought this would be fun to do, just
Yeah.
to like, you know, go into the topics that are controversial these days, of which there are like a million, but those are a few.
Yeah. So to be clear, in closing, so I can put a what do you call that? A clause to save my ass. These are my opinions. Okay. And also, these are ways that I think about these topics. Now, what I really stand for is power in human beings, freedom in human beings, clarity in thinking, and truth telling. And I also, with a lot of these things, there's like some statistics, facts, and I want people's thinking to be based on factual information to the best of my ability. So anything that's in here that is not factual is bullshit. Okay? And these are my thoughts, my opinions, and have nothing to do with the work that I do here or any other work that I do. This is just us fucking around. All right. So I think probably the most powerful thing for people to do is like you can use these, as I say in my other videos, like use these considerations, but it's a consideration only. I am in the direction of what's true, what's effective, what's powerful, what's freeing. And I just want to make that incredibly clear because I do not, yeah, I think that'll do it.
Perfect.
Yeah. Cool, man. Thank you.
You.
Check the links. Come do work over here. This podcast is a vast deviation from the norm in terms of like other workshops and stuff that I do. I just want to be clear about that. Come on down. Anything else you got to say?
No, it's been a
Okay,
pleasure,
cool. Thanks,
as
man. Until
always.
next time. Catch you guys later. Much love. Take care.